When I started to look into doing a podcast, I knew I had a lot to share and say, and I wanted to do it in an audio format. I was a little intimidated, not going to lie, about how I was going to go about recording and editing and distributing and all those things because technology is not my strong suit. Naturally, I can learn things. And so when I started to take webinars and ask questions on Facebook and other platforms, I decided that Anchor was the best way to go. It's been a bit of a one-stop shop for me. I can record all of my episodes, I can edit them. It's been really nice because it's free. And when I started to do a podcast, it was, okay, how am I going to rebuild my practice? I had to close my practice down because of COVID, federal mandate. So how was I going to rebuild things? How was I going to give myself something to do? Because this defines me. What I do, it defines me. So I really needed an outlet, and the budget was like nothing. So having this free option has been great. I am recording on my laptop, but I can also record on my phone if I decide that's a way to go, or maybe I don't have my laptop on me. And so that's pretty exciting to know I can do it from there too. They also take and distribute to various apps for people to listen on, which again, that is taking one stressor away from me so I can focus on my content. And if it's something you'd like to do, if you have something you'd like to say, I can't recommend it enough for somebody who's a newbie and starting out. And I feel like even if I wasn't, new at this, it's been something I've been doing for a while, I would still like this platform because of the ease of everything. So if it is something you'd like to look into, you can download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm. That's ANCHOR.fm to get started. Welcome to the Infinite Dance. I'm your host, Carrie Arata. Welcome back to all of my listeners that have been listening now for 10 whole episodes. This is episode 11. And if you're new to the podcast, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Before we get into today's episode, I wanted to say happy spring equinox. I am recording this on Saturday, March 20th, which is Ostara in pagan and Wiccan traditions. And so this is the first day of spring, which, yay, even if we're still in our homes and isolated more, it's nice to have something to celebrate. So I am really excited for today in Ostara and new beginnings and the days and the evenings coming into balance. Today they're the same. Feeling that balance today. So today's episode is about starseeds. And I've been hearing a lot of buzz around, of course, the interwebs, because that's my main form of contact these days, of starseeds. Am I a starseed? What is a starseed? And I think it's very appropriate that more are curious about their soul's origins and where they come from and what they're here to do on this earth. So what is a starseed? So a starseed is a star-born mortal with alien DNA, reincarnated to Earth for, again, a greater purpose with the collective in mind, okay? They're going to have a bigger picture view of what I need to do, what draws me every day and drives me every day to continue on this path that I'm taking. That's what a starseed is. And with the alien DNA, I've been calling our galactic family, okay? Because if you've had sessions with me or meditations with me, I talk about our galactic family, and our galactic families will be present during those meditations and during sessions. So galactic families, and a lot of starseeds have more of a, let's see, how can more of a, for a blanket, a rejection of societal constructs. There's this kind of unwritten knowing that, oh, you're going to grow up and you're going to, go to college and you're going to get married and you're going to have children and you're, kind of these kind of things that are fine and great and wonderful. But when you have something else to do, sometimes doing those things and doing those things in a bit of an order doesn't fit. Okay, doesn't fit. So, you're a starseed if those things are kind of ringing true for you. And let me back up just a little bit. I believe that we are all starseeds. We are all of star origin. And the bulk of everybody on Earth is a soul that isn't interacting as much or isn't coming from knowing and having a deep knowing of their soul's origins. So they have come back to Earth more. Okay, so those soul origins and the memories and the knowledge has grown away at that DNA level. Okay, so at that cellular level, so they're not remembering. Okay, so they're falling more into the constructs of society and how that looks and what we've grown to know as, okay, this should probably happen. And, oh, if so-and-so, it isn't probably going to get married, oh, poor them. Or if, she's not going to have kids, oh, poor her. Not necessarily true. And we're seeing more and more starseeds that know, that are coming onto this earth knowing and not forgetting. Okay, because a lot of us came here and during childhood and fitting into those constructs and being raised, we forgot. And then we're relearning. At a young adult age, we start to relearn again. But we'll see a lot of children, babies being born, and younger adults that we're interacting with now not having forgotten. They are not forgetting. It is sticking with them. And that's kind of why things have happened as they have, especially over this past year, to harness that and make space. We're relearning right now how to be. So I'd like to get into, first I'm going to go over, there is lots of different kinds of starseeds and galactic families out there. I'm going to go over 4 today, a little bit more in depth, because we're being affected by these 4 more. And then I'll go into other areas where you can kind of tell if you're a starseed or not. And again, I believe this is something we all are. And we all have the ability to remember and want to know our soul's origin. Okay, our soul's origin. So the first type of starseed I'd like to focus on is called an earther. So an earther makes up, we're going to see less of these again as the years go on, but this makes the bulk of who we're interacting with, like 85%. everything is very earth related. They can interact with earth constructs really well. Okay, the stewards of the earth, these starseeds, rooted in the physical and material world. So that's of great importance to them. Okay, so they're gonna really kind of drive to make sure those things are met. And I say they earth well. They earth well. They live comfortably, and they know, again, they're going to adhere to all the challenges and the joys involved in the human condition. Okay, so a challenge might be, oh my gosh, I have to move, or I got fired from a job, or I got let go, and now I have to get a new job. And then the joys, I'm having a child. I'm going to have a child, or I'm going to be a grandmother. These kinds of things are considered more human conditions, and the joys, right? Of course, and then the pains too, because of course we're in a dualistic existence, so both have to exist for us to be here. So again, we're seeing more and more Earthers, soul archetypes, searching for their starseed origins to delve deeper into their own spirituality. So I've had clients come to me and go, Carrie, I know I registered as an Earther, but I'm having these memories, or I'm having experiences where I want to delve deeper. Yes, this is exciting. Again, this podcast is called The Infinite Dance, so I always feel like there's an infinite amount of possibilities that can happen, especially when it comes to soul development and soul knowledge. And as we're talking about Earthers, I've also seen a lot of people putting in writing, making posts about a Lemurian or an Atlantean being a starseed. And those are actually considered an earth origin of a soul. Because those were, even though they're not in existence anymore, they were a place that existed on Earth. Okay? So it's not a galactic, it's not a place within a star system. So I just wanted to make that clear. So the second type of starseed I would like to talk about is called Nihal. We've also heard, or you might have also heard, of this starseed type being called indigo or crystal children. We're seeing more and more of this soul in the past decade. I'd say we started to see more trickling in the last 20 years, but definitely in the last decade, we've seen a lot more of indigo and crystal children coming in. They are gifted telepaths, and they are here to help us with our ascension process. And that's why we start to see them, because as you know, we are in, or maybe you didn't know, an ascension into a fifth dimensional consciousness. So that means we're raising our frequency, okay, to interact at this more heart-centered place, as opposed to the physical, I've got to make money and that's my main thing, okay? Not saying you're not supposed to, but it's not going to be the main drive, or the drive will have a different intention, as opposed to more is better. That's what just came through. So the Nihal, indigo, or crystal children can have a harder time with the physical world. It can be extremely overstimulating. And again, a soul can have a part of this indigo in them, or be a lot, or be mainly indigo. It's more of a pure soul. A lot of times these souls are considered autistic, Asperger's, neurodivergent, and there's no bad intentions. There's a bit of innocence with the soul. okay, which makes it so, you're highly aware when you don't have another intention of manipulation or thinking of another being in a way that, oh, am I doing it right? If there's this pure soul coming of, hey, I'm here and I want to interact and I've got, this gentleness and this ease to be around you, then that's just amazing. And it's hard because a lot of times we compare when a child comes in to other children, right? Oh, they're not in this percentile of this, that, and the other. And boy, that messes up the dynamic of this being's growth, which I think is too bad. And I know it's been changing though lately too. And that is good. That is really good because yay on having more indigo crystal Nihals coming in and shining their bright lights and guiding us to knowing life can be different. It doesn't have to be what we've known to exist and function. And I think that's really important. So yeah, thank goodness these souls are here with us now. That's Nihal. We've also heard them called indigos and or crystal children. Okay, that's the second type of starseed. The third type I'm going to bring up today is called Lyran, Lyran. And the Lyrans, we haven't seen or had a ton of Lyrans around us. Now, when I start to get into these other ones, Nihal, Lyran, we're talking a small percentage, okay? Like Nihal, I think it was like, was kind of at like maybe a 2 or 3%, okay? And again, we're going to start to see more and more of that. Lyrans has been like less than 1% of the population. So really low. But they are an ancient form of human incarnation origins. So they predate back. They're kind of considered more of a grandparent, a great grandparent of a spiritual starseed. And it's the root race of all humanoid races in our galaxy. They can look or have cat-like appearances or tendencies in their galactic form, and also avian. So they can also kind of have a bird-like look. And that all kind of comes under that Lyran umbrella. And the more and more are entering or have entered again to help us and assist us with our advancement in technology. And their guidance is almost mandatory in times like these, right? I mean, everything is changing, and here we are. We're more behind a screen right now because we're not facing each other. So yes, please, let's have more of these souls coming in and or, growing up. I'm hearing more like, teenage too, because around, I would say 16 to 18 and younger, we're going to see just a big influx of these starseeds coming in of all kinds. So not just the ones I'm talking about today. I'll go into more on other episodes. These are just the ones that are affecting us right now. Okay, we're going to have more of an effect of these ones right now with what we have going on in our society, in the world right now. So that's why I'm focusing on these guys. A Lyran soul is very much into having a wise presence, a natural leader, innate sense of experience of things, and extremely fearless. And they can analyze a situation flawlessly. And so that's really interesting too, right? To have being able to do that. They assisted Atlantis and Lemurian with advancing their knowledge of energy use, particularly in converting it to physical energy. And they were known to have brought the element of fire to Earth. So that's the starseed part of them, right? And so we're going to start seeing more of these around us, and it'll be interesting how that we start to see more and more of this kind of soul and what they're all about. The fourth and last starseed type I wanted to get into today is called Draconian. And this starseed type, it comes in at a 7% maybe, and we're going to start seeing less and less of this starseed type, thank goodness, because most of them are negatively aligned. Okay, so they're aligned to me first attitude. It's all about me first. There's a greed. Money gain is first at all costs. Ethics go out the window. Okay, ethics are out the window. It's all about what's going to get me ahead. I don't care if I have to step on you or your mother or your grandmother. I don't care. Okay, so this is a negatively aligned Draconian soul, extremely manipulative, controlling to like the nth degree, and will almost kind of get off on somebody being in a helpless state, even if they put them there, especially if they would put them there. Some are aligned to light or switching to light. A lot of times a soul that's not positively aligned, they do want to switch back to, if they're negatively aligned, back to a positive, because this is going to, again, help with the ascension process. And the ones that don't, we've seen them either leave or not be around, because it's just not going to fit in. This whole greed, manipulation, wanting to see others suffer. There's a reason why so much is coming out right now. It needs to leave. We need to know exactly where it's coming from. So it's like, absolutely not going to happen, not going to be a part of our existence in any way, shape, or form anymore. It doesn't serve anybody. An example of a Draconian soul that we had as our president was Donald Trump. So he's a negatively aligned Draconian soul. If you hear other people speak of him as being a light worker, they are being told the wrong information. Listen, he was an agent and a part of the change that needed to happen, but it doesn't make him a light worker. And you can't be a light worker if you're not aligned to wanting to do things from heart space. If you're wanting to do things from an ego space and me first space, then that's where you're coming from. So that's the Draconian, and I brought them up because they make up a lot of the Starseed. The 7% is a lot. Even though there's quite a bit of other Starseed soul origins, their percentage is like 2%, 3%. So it's really not a lot. They have come in at a lot, but we're seeing less and less. So, signs, you are a Starseed. You've always felt different, even in your friend group. You might have even called yourself weird. I think there was at one point I'd be like, where's my weirds? Where are my people that are weird like me? And there was kind of a camaraderie with that. I'm trying to get away from the word weird these days, though, because I think it falls into a bit of shame that we carry around at cellular level. And that will be another podcast episode, probably next month, about shame. Even though it's fun to say that you're weird. And I just don't think we're weird. And there's going to be so many of us Starseeds coming in and around and leading now. And you'll hear us speak on topics that it will start to not be a weird experience. Extremely sensitive. So whether you're positively aligned or negatively aligned, there's like an extreme sensitivity to the world around you. And ones that are positively aligned are going to be extremely empathetic. You'll hear them say, I'm an empath. A lot by a starseed, especially ones that are going to resonate to Mintaka, which is another area of Orion's belt area, along with Pleiadian. And I will get into those in another episode, because if you are drawn to that area, you're probably Pleiadian or Mintakan. Again, here we go. Love looking up at the sky, and you're probably drawn to that area. And that's where your galactic family is. You're just remembering, you're like, oh, yeah, right there. That's where I'm used to being, or I've been, and it's familiar. Lots of visions, lots of dreams of being elsewhere, in other galaxies and other lifetimes. And it's a feeling of, they're so real. Like, oh my God, I was just there, did that just really happen? So that feeling of being able to cross that barrier and feel that sense in the astrals of realness. You can really get overwhelmed in crowds, or even just doing errands, or even if you feel you're social, but you need to be alone. Okay, so like, oh yeah, I just went and I was social and it was great and it was so nice. But then it's like you get home and you're like, okay, I'm gonna hide for a little while. Okay, because it's just too much. It's too much coming in at once, and you need to kind of incorporate it all. Because a lot of times starseeds, we're observers, we're watching, not to judge, just you're taking it in. You're kind of going like you're seeing both sides of things. So it's just a lot. A deep innate knowledge of the divine and the universe. It really comes from within. Like it's a knowing that you just like, I know this. I have been here. I have seen this. I have experienced this. I know this person. So a deep knowing, though, of knowledge. A lot of times you get called, and I hate this term. I hate to I don't like using the word hate. I really don't like this term. So I hope it's something I'm going to say it because I want it to be something that we get away from. But being called like the black sheep in the family, I really think this needs to stop. So please stop if you're using it, and stop ostracizing somebody because they're not like you and they're not interacting with the world like you. A lot of times a starseed has a harder time feeling a connection to their family, because your soul's purpose can assist with other things. And when you start to kind of get into your soul history and knowing your clear boundaries around your family and their limitations and your limitations, you can start to have some kind of relationship if that is something that's available to you or something that you want, and to have them in your lives. And I think that's really important to know. It doesn't have to look a certain way. So getting away from using that term black sheep, please stop. I think that's a terrible term to use. For the animals, it's racist. It's terrible. So there you have it. I don't like that term. And using it in a negative way, because I think all of our differences are what make us absolutely amazing. So that is a little snippet on Starseeds. And I do have a bonus episode on Patreon. So you can purchase that episode when you go to the Patreon. You're also welcome to do what's called a listener support. So there should be a button wherever you're listening, and you can support this podcast, which helps to keep it going. And any amount is so very, very helpful. I really appreciate it. If you would like a private reading to find out more about your starseed origins, you can reach me at ancientbodyworks.co. I do guided meditations every Wednesday morning on Zoom at 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I do have a Facebook group called The Infinite Dance. Love to have you join me there. And please continue to explore and ask yourselves and others, may I have this dance?